next on Deck with Tim Black.
I'm Rodney Hinton Sr. I want to give a condolence out to the officer that got killed, my whole family. I'm asking for forgiveness, and I've been praying hard for the officer that killed my grandson. I've been praying hard for him and his family because I know he's hurting off this. As I seen in the video about my grandson, I seen two scared people. I seen the officer scared, and I seen my grandson scared. So it's an unfortunate incident that happened. So that's all I seen. It was like, I didn't see the police there try to kill. No. What I seen was two persons made a mistake. My grandson made a mistake being there, and the officer, he was trying to get back to his family too. So that's what I seen. So it's not about revenge or anything. I have nothing against nobody. You know, my Lord and Savior is Jesus Christ, and I represent him. So with that said, please, everybody, just try to forgive everybody who done anything to anybody.
Mr. Hinton, for you, this is a fact-finding mission more than anything to make sure you understand.
Yeah, it's a peace thing for me, for everything, for everybody to heal off this. I want everybody to heal off this. You know, it was just like a mistake. I really feel bad for the officer who was shooting because I can see the scariness in him too. People can't see it because I'm going spiritual with this now. So I was able to see that God had allowed me to see this part of the accident. You know, just like my son made an accident too. So he made an accident. Just, you know what I'm saying, just trying to just move on now. That's all I'm trying to do on. And I'm praying for the officer and their family. You know?
I'm right.
Yeah, folks, I got to stop there, man. And you know what, man? I'm going to say, first of all, that this brother, man, this is the father, not the father. I don't know who he is, right? I don't know. I don't know who he is. Who's this guy? Anybody know who he is? Anybody in the comment section know who he is? Because his father, Rodney Hinton Jr., is in jail. So I don't know who this is. But I would like to know who he is. If you know, put it in the comment section. And look, he's entitled to feel however he wants to feel about it, right? He cares about things. And I respect that. And more power to him, and I also respect his feelings about religion, his feelings about spirituality, the way he feels like he needs to move beyond this. He needs to, and look, I get it. It does sound similar to Mr. Metcalf over there with the son of Austin Metcalf. His first name escapes me, Mr. Metcalf, in the Ohio case at the track meet. Sounds similar to the words he was using afterwards, directly afterwards. But with none of the cause for justice that Mr. Metcalf was demanding. Because Mr. Metcalf had some spirituality in there, and he had some empathy in there, and some reasonableness, and let's not make this race and these things, which I feel is eventually going to come out that there may be some ulterior motive for that. But hey, that's neither here nor there. It's just my gut feeling. But yeah, okay, so I want to say that first. Second, I can't stand when we do this. I cannot stand when we do this. Folks. The video of that officer, now maybe he saw more video than me, so I'm going to give him that. No, hold on a second. The 6 seconds of video that's been released to the public, all I saw was the man get out of his car, and within 6 seconds, he shot a young man 4 times in the back. And then said he was afraid for his life. I don't know about you, but if a lion's coming at me and then the lion's running away from me, I'm no longer afraid for my life because the lion's gone. I don't mean to compare the brother Ryan to a lion, but I'm saying if a threat is coming at me, which it wasn't, the threat's going this way and you're standing over here, the threat is over here. He was standing here, the threat was running down that way. And he bap. I don't know what this man talking about. But maybe he saw something in the video that played after that. Maybe the cop was very distraught. Maybe there was something there. So look, I have not watched other content on this, but I do want to acknowledge that they say they tried to save his life after the shooting, and I got a feeling there's a lot more body cam footage that we haven't seen. Okay, so I will acknowledge that, but man, it's just based on what we saw, based on what I saw, I feel the way I feel. If you go watch that footage, you may feel similarly. I think that Rodney Hinton felt similarly than the way I feel, because he reacted based on something. And I've heard different people make different arguments and different dismissals of whatever he was feeling. And I don't know how you do that if you're a human being, how you dismiss how human beings feel when they lose children. And if they feel that feeling, if they feel that it's unnecessary. But anyway, I just want to voice that. Let's keep going. There's more to this. So that was one member of the Hinton family, and let's keep going. There's going to be another member. I think this is a cousin. Let's see who this is.
My cousin. My condolences to everybody involved in this. I just want to say, Ryan, I'm so sorry. God, please watch over the rest of my family. He called me like 6-9 times, like 2012 and one. Called me trying to get in. Text me. And I was asleep. Ryan, I'm so sorry. This was never supposed to happen to you. Ever. I'm so sorry, Ryan. I'm so sorry, Ryan. Just know he wasn't supposed to be there. He wasn't supposed to be there. He wasn't. He was scared. He tripped and fell. He must have been so scared. I'm so sorry, Ryan. Just that, like, everybody just talking shit about him. Just know he wasn't supposed to be there, y'all. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't going to say this, but I'm going to say it because I'm with family and I consider y'all family. When I was in my teens, in a place called Toledo Plaza behind Prince George's County. If you're from Prince George's County, Maryland, you know the place. You may have been there yourself. This was in the 90s. Me and a friend of mine were going down to Virginia, where his family's from. The friend I was with was, as Dave Chappelle described, the coolest white boy in the neighborhood. He was a white boy that always hit people first when it was time to fight, because he had to show them he wasn't no punk. We're going to call him Jimmy. On our way down to this place in Virginia, was a rural area that I had never been to. Well, let me back up just a bit. If you're going to tell it all, right? In the neighborhood that we lived in, people stole cars. We didn't steal cars. I don't know how to steal cars. We didn't know how to steal cars. But people stole cars there. And we said we wanted to go to Virginia to see Jimmy's dad and hang out there and get away from the city for a while, something I'd never done. I'd never been in camp out of town. It's like, damn, how are we going to get down to Virginia? How are we going to get down to this little place? And one of the guys in the hood was like, if you give us $100, we give you a car. I said, what's the yes? $100, just bring it back. Make sure it got gas in it. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I could lie and say I knew the car wasn't stolen, but I knew it was stolen. So Jimmy drove, I sat in the passenger seat, and we proceeded to head towards Virginia. Later that night while we're driving, it's late at night. I'm 18 years old. Jimmy's 19 years old. I was about to go to sleep, but I said, Jimmy, whatever you do, man, do not speed. Keep this under 60. He said, man, I got us, man. Chill, T. Jimmy did not listen. I woke up to the sounds of sirens and lights. I could see lights and sirens, and we're pulled over to the side of the road. And on this road, Route 66, they ain't nothing but woods, and it's dark. And there's a police car behind us. And there's Jimmy looking at me and saying, Tim, I messed up. Though he didn't use the word messed up. The officer told us both to get out of the car, so we both got out the car. Now, I don't remember exactly everything that was said other than don't move, or I shoot, that type of stuff. And I remember my eyes connected with Jimmy's, our eyes connected. And he said, man, I'm going to make a run for it. I said, don't do it, man. He said, I'm going to make a run for it. He said, on the count of 3, let's make a run for it. He said, 1. I said, Jimmy, don't do it, man. He said, Tim, I ain't going to jail. 2. Cop said, don't move. And before we got to 3, I looked at that officer and I looked at his gun, and I noticed his gun was pointed at me. Not Jimmy. Did I tell y'all Jimmy was white? I forgot if I told you. Yeah, Jimmy was white. At 3, Jimmy shot off in the woods. He ran. Gone. Officer said, don't you move. Don't you move, boy. Don't you move. I said, I ain't moving. And they put the cuffs on me and they put me in the back of a car. And I'm sitting there with the cuffs sitting in the back of the car, and they made some other calls on the radio or whatever. And another officer showed up and they're talking. And I remember saying to the officer, officer, I ain't never been in trouble before. He said, well, you're in trouble now, N-word. You know, I don't know if he said N-word or not. It sure felt like it. I could have been Ryan. And that would mean I would not have anything. I would have missed so much of this journey. Neither Jimmy and I did not come out to hurt anybody. Nor that we were not some diabolical car stealers running a car stealing ring. We were some poor kids living in an area where that was just regular everyday life. And older kids gave us a car. And we were dumb enough to drive it. Not thinking that possession is 9/10 of the law and all this good old stuff that Judge Joe Brown will tell you. In the defense of Jimmy, I will say, brings a smile to my heart, man. When I'm sitting in the back of that car and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm about to go to jail. I've never been in trouble before, as I said it. And I hear the cop say, put your hands up, put your hands up. And here goes Jimmy walking out of the darkness, covered in mud. See, in the woods, they got a bunch of swamps in the woods. And it was dark. Did I tell y'all it was dark? It was dark. He couldn't see his hand before his face. As he was running through these woods, the city boy that he was, whose father was from this rural place in Virginia, he wasn't. He lived in Louisdale, Hydesville. He fell into one of them swamps above his head. And that's when he decided, whatever's going to happen for this is better than me running through these swamps and dying in the woods and nobody ever seeing me again. So yeah, he came back and turned himself in. We both ended up at the Loudoun County Detention Center for a summer. And we both were knocked down to misdemeanors. Said something about going to join the Army, was Marines or something, and he took pity on our dumb asses and sent us back to Maryland. And it was nothing. Didn't stop me, it was a misdemeanor. Other jobs I look for didn't frown upon it too much. I was able to get past it and build a career for myself. And Jimmy pretty much did the same. And all I'm saying, folks, is good people do dumb things, and young people do dumb things, and young people do young things, and that happens. And sometimes, and now that I think about it, I guess that officer could have said anything he wanted to. He could have said, he's got a gun, and be pointing at me and just shot me. He could have. I mean, I'm sure the other officers wouldn't have lied. They would have just went along with it. It looks like he was reaching for something. I mean, it happens all the time. We got goofies that don't think it does. I knew I wasn't going to take a chance of seeing how unbiased, how anti-racist he was in that moment. I'm glad he didn't shoot Jimmy. I don't know why I'm telling you this. I guess I'm telling you because I thought about telling you. And I just wanted to be said that I hear some people making some claims about young Ryan, not about Rodney, about young Ryan. And I don't think they're fair. And I think some of you who are talking smack have done some things in your life that you just did not get caught for. And I just want to be open and transparent about mine. Are you open and transparent about yours? That's all I'm saying. Let he who doesn't live in a glass house throw the first stone. All right. Continuing with the Rodney, now let's go to the Rodney Hinton update. The Rodney Hinton Jr. update, as we all know, he's the father of Ryan, who's charged with murder for running over a police officer soon after watching the videotape of his son being shot by an officer. Was it the same officer who did the shooting? Matter of fact, the officer that he ran over was not even a part of the same police department. I think one is the Cincinnati Police Department, and the officer that was run over, Mr. I want to say Anderson, was not. He was a sheriff. No affiliation. Okay, so there we go. We got Rodney Hinton Jr. in court for his bail hearing, I guess. See if he could get bonded out, and here goes.
Mr. Bennett, at the prior hearing before today. Have a seat, man. Have a seat. Have a seat. Sit down.
Man, hell. Wait, bro. Sit down! He's out of line! Under the color of law! He's out of line! Acting under the color of law! Acting under the color of law!
Okay, I want to point out that the officer grabbed him. The officer grabbed him to sit down, and I don't know if that's what you're supposed to do. I don't know if you're supposed to put your hands on people. I don't know.
The prior hearing before today. Have a seat, man. Have a seat. Have a seat.
Yeah, you're probably not supposed to knock on the glass and talk to the person inside. I don't think you're supposed to do that. But I don't know if this officer is supposed to do this. Yeah, I don't know if you're supposed to do that. But I don't think he gave a damn. You know why? Because he was emotional. Yeah, because this officer's emotional about what this man did, or what he allegedly did. He's emotional about what happened to his friend. See how emotion works? So he's emotional, so he's going to go grab this guy and forcibly pull him and yank him and say, go sit your ass down. Not probably in the police department training handbook, but he's doing it because he's acting out of emotion. And then what's funny is them same people that would say it's reasonable for him to act that way would not understand why this man is acting the way he's acting. So they don't extend emotion to certain people. Not all of us are allotted to be human beings and have emotions. Some people's tears are worth more than others. Some people's pains worth more than others. Some people's hopes, dreams, and lives, very lives, worth more than others.
Man, sit down!
You'd think 100 cops need to stand up for one guy who's trying to get the attention of somebody in the court. Is there a reason why 100 cops need to get up? I don't know. Is it possible that certain people in their jurisdiction might be in a little bit of harm's way if one of these cops is out in the street? Because of what happened to one cop. And I'm not saying it wasn't tragic. I'm not saying it was right. But I'm seeing something here. See, what I'm trying to get people to understand is something happened to one police officer. Something happened to one black kid. Black young man. No empathy for that. Okay, I get it. Cops sign up to be cops. Young people sign up to do things too, I guess. No one said Ryan had to be in that car. That's true. No one said he had to be in a car. No one said that officer had to be a cop. No one said Rodney had to do what he did. Definitely. You get what I'm saying? But here we are with all three of these things. You know, we're here now. And all I'm saying is, back to my point. You see the way these officers are acting. Is it possible they could go out and inflict some damage on some innocent people themselves? They seem pretty alarmed, pretty up. They got their backs up pretty straight and quick.
He's out of line! Under the color of law! He's out of line! Acting under the color of law! Acting under the color of law!
Open my phone. Come on, man. Come on, man. Y'all cool. I just want my brother to see me.
People are saying, is this his actual brother? I don't know. It hasn't been confirmed. But you know, black people use the term brother. So do some white people. Yeah. I've heard a number of people use the term brother. Doesn't mean it's his biological brother. You know, it could just mean my brother, my friend. It could be somebody that he knows. Right? Closely. Could be close friends. I don't know.
I just want my brother to see me. I just want my brother to see me. My brother can't see me. They did this shit before. They did this shit before.
That's the way to do it.
They did it before. I got a video of them messing with my brother and me before. I ain't do nothing. I just want my brother to see me.
Whew. Sound like somebody has some serious trauma in their life. Sounds like he's lost another family member or close friend in a similar situation and never saw him again. Maybe he went to one of our prisons for a charge and just never came home alive. They know that happens. People talk like the American justice system is cool. Yeah, I've been listening to Democrats go on and on and on about MS-13 gangbanger guy. And is he going to be okay in El Salvador? That prison's like a concentration camp. You know how many people died in Ohio prisons? I actually covered this a couple years ago when Senator Nina Turner was running for Congress. And how Chantel, whatever her last name is, who's now representative who won, was pretty quiet as a number of bodies were piling up in Ohio prisons. Ohio prisons are no joke. A lot of people never come home. You don't hear that much because our media is garbage. So I don't know exactly what this brother's talking about, but I do know about our penal system, and I know about the deaths of inmates in that system.
I ain't doing that to him. That's my family. That's my family. That's
Come on. Ray, please. Ray, please.
doing all that. And see me one-on-one, man. Now that 40 motherfuckers here on my.
And you know what, man? This is a time like this is when you need an OG to come up, man, and just kind of chill him out, man. Because no matter what he's going through, and I definitely don't want to discount it, the last thing the rest of his family need is more tragedy, more arrests, or more pain, more issues to deal with. And that's what he needs to be reminded of at that very moment. That this is not what you need. It's not what your family needs right now. We need you strong and free and able to help. And if you get locked up right now, then you're just adding to the grief that we're already going through. So that's what, and that's why the OGs are important if they on point. But if they gonna come up and say some dumb things and just exasperate, make things worse, what's better they not be in the picture. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's where I'm coming from.
But ultimately, I think the court is showcasing deference.
Okay. I don't know why that jumped so quick, Tim Black. I ain't put nothing between these, huh? Okay. All right, so gosh. Kind of threw me right there. Jumped so quick to the next story. Yeah. What did I want to say about the Rodney Hinton? Okay, so I heard people making different arguments about it. I just want to say this, guys. No one here has to justify what happened, because that ain't my job. It's my job to justify an innocent man being run over. But I also won't justify what I saw on that tape. And what I saw on that tape, if that officer was that afraid, he don't need to be an officer. And I'm so tired of saying that every time I turn around about an officer that says, I was afraid. I don't get it. I keep telling people we need to pay officers more money and hire better officers. Pay them more money and hire better officers. Because if you are so afraid of a person who passed you, who ran past you, that ain't fear. That's retaliation. Fear is looking fear in the face, seeing it turn towards you. If he said, folks, I did not see any gun. I did not see a gun. I watched it several times. I didn't see a gun. I didn't even see anything that resembled a gun. I don't know what these people are talking about. They'll just say whatever because to them it's a game to get hits on YouTube. It's a game to get hits on X. They'll say anything to make a scene. The rage bait is real. But as I looked at that video, I saw nothing that resembled a weapon. It is what it is. I'm going to continue to follow this story and bring you updates on the story. Once again, it's one of those stories I wish never happened, of course. But I'm also irritated, man, by the people who don't see anything about Rodney Hinton Jr. If Rodney Hinton Jr. was a white guy and his son was shot by cops, it'd be more consideration and more scrutiny on those police officers. It sure would be in the public sphere. There'd be more scrutiny on that police officer. We know more about the officer that shot Ryan. There'd be questions about his background, questions about how his career, how straight or narrow, or not straight or narrow, or how flawed his career has been. There will be more consideration to his fitness for duty. I've been doing this a long time. I've seen it before. Now, don't get me wrong, there's been white kids killed by cops and people brush it under the rug, but I'm talking about the father. If a dad snaps, in our culture, in America, if that dad is white, people look at it different. And look, I want to give this example, folks, to my non-believers, to my people who ain't so sure. Remember the movie John Q? The writers of the movie John Q were very, very careful. Because in that movie, Denzel Washington takes over a hospital and holds people hostage. But the only way they could get everyone to root for Denzel is at the end, he had to be willing to trade his life for his son's by giving his son his heart. It would have to, for that black man to have that much, for that black man to go to that extent that he inconvenienced all those good white people, he had to be willing. They had to make that character either self-effacing, something. He had to be, at the end of the day, he had to do something that wasn't about retaliation. It had to be about him willing to trade his life. It couldn't be just about him trying to save his son. It had to add something else in there. Even though we're talking about an ailment like a heart condition out of the blue. Think about John Q and think about what I'm saying here. I think John Q, that movie only worked and it grossed millions and millions of dollars because Denzel was willing to risk. Now, if Denzel would have been more like, I don't know, like Liam Neeson, I don't know. I just think that's why the movie works. Movies are different than real life, and I'm not saying they're the same thing. But what I'm saying is a lot plays out in narratives. And these things to our brains, when we watch movies, our brains don't know the difference. You in a movie theater, you watch the movie for an hour and a half, 2 hours, your brain don't know if it's saying something real or not. It just knows what it sees. And all I'm saying is, if Rodney Hinton Jr. was a white man who snapped and went after a cop over the death of his son, there'll be a little bit more consideration for that father. It's just something that's innate in people, not to give black men that same grace. And I think, really, I don't think our culture thinks black men care about their kids, which is a fallacy. I've seen reports that show that black fathers spend more time with their kids than white fathers. You wouldn't know about watching Hollywood. Yeah. At the end of the day, fam, this is a tragic story. I've already said that. But I just think there should be a lot more understanding for this. And there should be understanding about the officer who lost his life. This is not a one-size-fits-all situation. You can't be distraught, lose your cool, be irrational, do something wrong, and still got to pay for it. I'm not saying he don't have to pay for it. I'm not saying he doesn't have to pay for what he did. I am not saying Rodney Hinton should go unpunished. I am not saying Rodney Hinton should go unpunished. I'm not saying that. Because what society do you have, man, and people could just run around offing people in retaliation? It don't even have to go get the person that they're angry with. I mean, even then, that's still bad. Get what I'm saying? Because where does it stop? Does that mean officers can go get whoever they want? Somebody in Rodney's family? Next? We start going back. We don't need the old West days to come back. Ain't that what happens with the Bloods and the Crips and the Vice Lords and the Disciples and I don't know. So I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is some of the rhetoric around this, I'm just tired of the sellouts just quickly just dumping on this guy. They must have never been a father or a mother and know what it's like to be struck with grief. I still contend, and I'm going to leave it here, guys. As I stated in my initial video, I think this thing was handled poorly. I think you don't show a father no film like that and just say, have a nice day, Pops. I don't think that's what you do. He didn't hit that officer with a car full of friends and drunk off something. He was by himself after seeing that footage. And I think it was just a horrible situation that could have been avoided. And I just think we need services, man. We don't give a damn about mental health in this country at all, do we? We just don't care. We just don't care, fam. Nobody offered me and my wife any mental health. Not really. So I know what it's like. It's like, oh, have a nice day, enjoy. And meanwhile, I got to come home and parent my daughters. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what people are going through. And I think that's why I'm very careful. When I'm out and about, whatever I'm doing, I always keep in mind, I don't know what the next person's going through. I don't know what just happened to them in their lives. I don't know what their mental state is, or none of that. We should always be aware of that. You never know what someone else is going through. You talking about the parking space, and they thinking about they just lost their mother, and you up here in their face about a parking space or some other pointless other thing. And they lash out on you based on some stuff that's totally more concerning than what you're talking about. Okay, guys, let me know what you think in the comments section. Stop selling this short. We got a lot of problems in our society, folks. We have multiple problems at one time. And it's always the corny people that want to put it all just on Ryan. Or put it all just on Rodney Hinton Jr. Or put it all just on the police. Because we got problems in every facet. Pick one. Pick one sector. Throw a rock, okay? If you say, hey, it's the cops, also you could look at the family. If you want to just blame the family, well, you can look at Rodney. Look at the dad. You want to just blame the dad? Well, you can look at us. You can look at our mental health and how we handle that. Like, wherever you point, you're missing another point. No matter where you point. Because there's so much that we can improve. But for some reason, the common denominator is going to point to the black family and say something's wrong. See, you didn't train your child right. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. Man, you don't know the situation. You almost programmed to say that. And that's what I get tired of. I get tired of the programming to throw black people under the bus in all circumstances in order to get on Piers Morgan, like that Gump. We know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to say his name. All right, guys. Y'all ready? Let's keep it moving. All right, let's keep it moving. We've been reporting on this show about what's been going on with CNN, and we know that Abby Phillips has been rising in the ratings because this show's become spicy. But it's also become tiresome, folks. Case in point.
Ray, please. Ray, please.
Doing all that. Man, give me one-on-one, man. Now, that funny motherfucker there on my brother, man.
Ray, please.
But ultimately, I think the court is showcasing deference to the executive, saying that, look, you're the president, you're over the military, you do, for the most part, get to sort of dictate the standards of our military. And I don't really see how you can push back against that. Again, we'll see what happens in the court.
I can. I'm sorry, I can. What if the president wakes up tomorrow and says, I don't want any black people in the military? Do we give deference to him on that? Well, no. No, wait a second. It's not ridiculous. It's not ridiculous.
I'm about to light her ass up, okay? Rhetorically, not literally, progressives. Love you too.
Because you're discriminating against a group of people. I can. I'm sorry, I can. What if the president wakes up tomorrow and says, I don't want any black people in the military? Do we give deference to him on that? Well, no. No, wait a second. It's not ridiculous. It's not ridiculous because you're discriminating against a group of people in a very similar way.
Why come you couldn't say women? Why you couldn't say women? Why you couldn't say Jews? You coward. Why come you couldn't say Jews? Oh, because we don't use other groups like we use black people to make a point about anything in this country. We like using black people because you don't got any power in this country. I mean, that's really why, right? That's really why, right? Because no matter what you do to women, it includes white women, and white women are the second most powerful people in the country. Second only to white men, right? So all your feminism shit goes out the window because in reality, it was a lot of white women killing black people, killing black babies, killing black women, killing black men. In the history of this country, y'all don't want to talk about that. It's just real life. That's why she uses black, because that's the go-to.
No, I knew you were going to say that, but
excuse me. Well, I'm glad you.
I'm going to leave this one alone today.
I'm curious. Why is it ridiculous? I mean, you just said the president should be the one who just decides.
Right.
So if he decides, he wakes up tomorrow and says, I think it's bad for morale, it's bad for cohesiveness, for there to be black people in the military.
You know what? You know what, Abby? I think it's time for you. I think it's time for you to be exposed for who you are too. Yeah, I think it's time for black media. New black media, it's time we go out to Abby and expose her for who she is. And I don't mean to be like, you know, Abby, I don't think that you really have the standing with black Americans that you can make this argument. Just because you brown skin and from the islands doesn't give you the right to make this claim. So, yeah. Abby essentially doubled down on white lady stuff, which says a lot about who she is. And I think it's time we give her the business.
Latino people in the military, just in her hypothetical scenario, what's the difference between that and what we're seeing here?
They've been beating Abby and her people with a stick. When I say they, I mean Sharmichael Singleton and Jennings, Scott Jennings, have been beating the hell out of the liberals on this show. That there was nowhere else to go. Man, they've done everything they could to defeat Sharmichael and Jennings here. Scott and Sharmichael, listen. They've used everything they could use to defeat Sharmichael and Scott. They grabbed a knife and Sharmichael did a roundhouse kick and knocked it out of their hands and flattened them with a straight left. They grabbed their handgun and went out to Scott, and Scott uppercutted them and rocked their dome piece. So they were so off balance they all collapsed on their foreheads and their faces in the mat. Now they look at the shelf of weapons to go after Scott and Sharmichael, and all that's left is that one bazooka. You know it, the black card. Yeah, that's what they got left, man. They're looking at the shelf of tools, and it's like on the last thing left is that black card, Johnson. That's all the Democrats got. They tried everything else. Nothing else worked. That's what this is about. I've been telling you, the only group of people in this country that have the moral authority when it comes to these matters are black people. That's why we get used so much. I know I got goofies that say things like, oh, but all of America gets screwed over. Not like us. Oh, not like us. We get to build America for free and then couldn't even own any of it. Yeah, totally different. Latinos and migrants get to send their money home. We didn't get any money to send home. We got to never go home again. So you can't compare the two. And it's like, it'd be different if Shamichael wanted to make that comparison. It's slightly different when Abby does, but when you find out that Abby's not a black American, her parents are not black Americans, they from somewhere else, it's like, you're not really rooted. I'm sure she heard growing up, stay away from Makata or something similar in whatever island dialect. You understand what I'm saying? You ain't got to like it. It's just what it is. These are conversations that I had about the poor blacks, by people that are brown skinned who are from other places. This is the real deal. We ain't going to be real here. So the Democrats now are reaching up on the shelf to grab the black Gap gun.
I mean, you just said the president should be the one who just decides.
Right.
So if he decides, he wakes up tomorrow and says, I think it's bad for morale, it's bad for cohesiveness, for there to be black people in the military, Latino people in the military, just in her hypothetical scenario, what's the difference between that and what we're seeing here?
I mean, are you really going to go down this ridiculous
I'm just,
road?
I'm sorry.
This is ridiculous. This is a ridiculous argument.
Well,
the president,
what they've already
the president and
said about
Secretary of
Let me
Defense,
just-
the president and Secretary of Defense have an argument here. They believe that readiness and unit cohesion and overall operations of the military are impacted by this. That is their opinion, and that is the opinion of the commander-in-chief, who the Constitution gives broad latitude to run the armed forces. So that's their opinion. You're allowed to have one. You're allowed to have one. You're also allowed to run for president and become commander-in-chief yourself. But until you do, he's the commander-in-chief.
I have to just say, I didn't hear an answer to the hypothetical.
Yeah. I'll give you one answer to the hypothetical. See if you can stay with me here on this one, Abby. Being trans is an option. Being black isn't. Being LGBTQ is an option. And also, being LGBTQ is your own business, if you want it to be. Being black isn't, at least not for 99.5 of us. I mean, Scott couldn't say it. I guess Shamichael could have said it, but I will damn sure say it for you, make it real clear for you so that you understand. I don't care if there's a trans person on the panel. It's what it is. So, yeah, there's a difference.
Right? I just didn't hear it. Okay, the definition of discrimination, according to the American Psychological Association, discrimination is the unfair or prejudicial treatment of people or groups based on characteristics such as race, gender, age, or sexual orientation. What is the difference between, prohibiting certain groups like transgender people from serving versus, You
gotta look. You notice, guys, here in this idea. Here we go. Notice, even in the point that even in what she's referencing here in discrimination, she has all these options. She could have used gender, age, orientation. She didn't. She used black. Why not? If I'm wrong, right? Because there's always people that's playing devil's advocate with me, like, Tim, you're always so hard on the black women. Now when the sellouts, now when they throw black people under the bus, Am I being hard on? Am I being justice? Am I being righteous? Am I being real? You're just in your feels. Why didn't Abby Phillips and White Lady use age? Could have just used age. Why you gotta use black people? Because it doesn't have the same bite. Why doesn't it have the same bite? See, we start getting into reparations land. We keep going. Because at some point, you're gonna have to accept the disrespect, the disenfranchisement, the discrimination of black people has been a special blend that trumps all the other groups, what they've been through. So we are the gold standard of discrimination, the examples of discrimination in the history of this country. Anything else? Anything else would be, what's the Grand Poupon? I'm sorry. Anything else would be barbaric? It's a line for Grand Poupon. Damn, it's right there. I can't get it. So in order to make a point, you got to go to the highest of hostility. Got to go to the highest of hostility and go for black Americans to make your point, because we're the highest moral descriptor when it comes to this. No one's been treated worse. So you want to you want to really shore up and fight for the trans, compare them to the blacks. Yeah, you trying to do us like you did black people. I didn't know trans people built America for free. I didn't know that happened. I didn't know trans people weren't able to buy property. How would you even know they're trans people? How would you even know? I know they were redlined out of owning certain property in certain locations. I didn't know that happened. When did that happen? People were experimenting on them to find out, causing them to die, infecting them intentionally with the purpose of finding out how they would die if they had a disease like syphilis. I didn't know that happened to trans people. There's just no comparison. But they make the comparison because they're the Democrats, man. I tell you, when I look into a camera and I tell people the Democrats to me are the worst party, the worst group, we got people that say that they understand and get it. They don't get it. I could do a segment like this and they still won't get it. They will say they get it. Theoretically, they get it, but emotionally, inside, internally, they do not understand. They just don't. Segments like this really bring it home. Abby Phillips could have went anywhere, but she didn't go with gender or age or orientation. She went right to black. And she could have went to any race. Why does it have to be black? Why not Asians? We had an Asian exclusion law. Don't people always compare how hard Asians had it and say, why come black people can't be as successful as Asians? Why not make the comparison to Asians? Why not say, hey, what if Trump woke up tomorrow and said, no Asians can be in the army or in the armed services? Why not make that moral argument? And the reason why, once we go back and forth like 5 rounds of you trying to deflect, we'll get to it. And that is, there is no other group who carries the legacy of discrimination quite like black people. That's why. And even when you make your arguments to cheapen our disenfranchisement, the racial wealth gap, and all the other issues that we deal with in this country, you cannot deny there is a difference. Because when you're reaching for the weapon off the shelf to make your argument, you don't choose the Asian gun. You don't choose the gay gun. Or even the Jewish gun. You choose the black suffering gun. Put that sucker on your shoulder and you aim it and you shoot. Not unlike Jesse Ventura in The Predator with that gun that spun it. Yeah, that's that black gun, ain't it? All right, folks, let me know.
Characteristics such as race, gender, age, or sexual orientation. What is the difference between, prohibiting certain groups like transgender people from serving versus, people based on their race or even their gender, frankly?
I personally think there's a difference, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
The other problem, Scott, is that it's never enough. It's bathrooms today. It's sports today. It's sports tomorrow. It's the military today.
No, it's also sports today, by the way.
Yeah, it is sports today. And
80% of Americans agree, by the way.
Oh, that's fine. And 80%, guess what? The majority sometimes is wrong. That also happens, right? Because the majority used to believe that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was somebody who was a threat, that somebody who was not a good American. The majority of people used to be against civil rights. Were they right? No, they weren't. And so.
Yeah, when Jamel Hill, the most obvious, I would say, signal that you're losing an argument is that all you're going to do is go for that black gun on the top shelf. You and Abby and White Lady just proved it. You got no argument. Yeah. You just got some talking points. And when you run out of those talking points, you have not trained successful, Grasshopper. Yeah, you did not learn monkey style and crane style and whatever other move, and you didn't get your Taekwondo belt, whatever. You didn't learn how to train with the size. Your nunchuck game is weak. And at the end of the day, you got nothing else to do. You got to reach for at the top of the shelf and go get the black gun. Now you're using the MLK gun, the civil rights gun. Hey, black people had to suffer. Oh, black people had it bad, and so do the trans. Or you could just wear a dress, come home, and put on pants in your privacy, your own room or your own house, and still have a great house on the best block and send your kids to the greatest place and keep your business indoors and no one would know. But see, black people never had that. Martin Luther King Jr. himself said the difference is the black man wears his on his skin. Other groups were able to hide theirs. How disrespectful for Jamel Hill and Abby Phillip to do that. It's one thing for White Lady to do it. This cheap shot is lazy. It lacks creativity. It also lacks having a relevant point. What lazy sloths. What group of lazy chubbies running around. Come on. Horrible. And at the end of the day, folks, we need to hold them accountable for it too. And I'm not saying cancel them, but let them hear about it. Share this segment and share it proudly. Let them know the days of using black pain to help your damn party are over. And every time you do it, there will be consequences and repercussions. Signed, Black America. All right, let's keep it going, y'all. That's the whole segment in itself, Dana. Shemichael's out of it. That's his business. His actual business is CNN. But I'm talking to Dana. Dana, you and I can chop it up on this. All right, let's keep going, y'all. Hit the like button if that segment made any sense to you. Hope it did. What else is next? Let's go.
Next on deck with Tim Black. Next on deck with Tim Black.
You're describing illegal immigration, which has been around for a long time, as an invasion, which is fine for you if you want to do that. But why is that unusual that there's a process to go through to deport people? I mean, that's actually just how the system works.
Do you know how long it takes for this process, this paperwork to get people out? The guy that we've all been weeping and gnashing teeth over, the guy we sent to El Salvador, was in the country 14 years illegally.
But what about what
We've
Dante's,
got millions of people who have gamed this system, and now we're going to give it some more.
You believe in the Constitution or you don't. And
I believe in the sovereignty of the United States, or you don't.
But
So you don't believe in the
believe in the Constitution?
I believe in the sovereignty of the United
So you
States,
don't
and I
believe
believe,
in the
and I believe we've
And
been
you don't
invaded.
believe that
Can
Donald
I just
Trump
ask a
should
question?
abide by the Constitution?
Just a serious question.
Of course I do. And of course I believe.
Do you believe that he does?
And I believe that he will follow, just as he said, what the Supreme Court says. But the policy debate is worth
From
having.
the very beginning,
millions
of Trump,
upon millions of
when
people are
Trump
here, and they will not
campaigning,
leave. And he has to get them
always
I agree with you with
believed
that, Scott.
in executive
Hold on a
overreach.
second, Dante. Let me just let him
Always. From the very beginning, from 2016, he has believed in executive overreach. We've all seen that. He said it. It was clear. Are you saying now that you don't believe that he believes in executive overreach?
I believe that he believes his mandate from the American people is to solve illegal immigration. And I would ask you the same question in reverse. Did Joe Biden, when he said he would faithfully uphold and execute the laws of this land, not mean it when he decided to let millions upon millions of people into the country? Because he did not execute the laws.
I thought that you were going to squirm out of that question.
I'm not squirming.
Yes, you did. And that's why I prepared for it, because I want to read you something. At the core of Trump's candidacy is a call for greater executive authority with willful disregard for the constitutional limits placed on our chief executive. Trump especially promises to force individual companies to do things he wants them to do, or else he promises punishment to those who displease him, which appeals to the miserable man at the airport bar. Do you recognize that?
Yeah, I wrote it.
Exactly.
And here's
so
the deal.
He hasn't
And
changed, so what has changed about you?
And here's the difference between then and now. This country has been invaded. The president was elected
So
to
you
end the
changed your
invasion.
opinion on the Constitution?
My opinion is the president needs to pull every lever he can to solve illegal
So
immigration.
you've answered that question by saying
here's
that
the
you don't mind him
Do
being
you
unconstitutional.
believe that every immigrant here is the same? You can't believe that because
Yes.
they're not. They're not.
I do.
There's
I
some good,
believe
there's
every-
some bad. There's some criminal,
I
they're
believe,
not.
I believe
And how
everybody
do you-
who's here
but-
illegally
hear
is
this
here
out.
illegally.
How do
Not
you
all are
differentiate?
violent, but all are here
But
illegally.
how do you differentiate if nobody gets a hearing, if you don't have due process? How do you distinguish one from the other?
Well,
so what you're saying is every person that's here in this country is a criminal, is a gang member,
No.
should be thrown in jail.
Every person who's
That's
here
what's
illegally,
happening.
every person who is here illegally is in fact a criminal. Some of them do come here and commit violent crimes
Some of
and
them, but
still
how do you
aren't
differentiate
deported.
if you don't have a
Well,
process?
some have records and some don't.
But they
I'm
still
here to
have
break the news.
constitutional rights.
They're all
Hold on,
going
hold on a
away.
second.
Still have constitutional
I want to make
rights.
sure that we're not straying from the point of this conversation, which is a question about due process rights. And so I'll just ask really quickly, do you believe that undocumented immigrants have to have due process rights, that that's constitutionally what they are entitled to?
I'm unsure of what that means in the context of some of the cases that we've been dealing with in the news lately, because I've been looking at these people who have been here for 14 years, have been through numerous immigration.
All right, well,
I have a question about what does that mean?
All right,
Yes,
well,
I agree.
Your Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree, Mr. President?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
Well, the Fifth Amendment says
I don't know.
as
It seems it might say that, but if you're talking about that, then we'd have to have 1 million or 2 million or 3 million trials.
So can I respond to that?
Yeah.
So what does it mean for an illegal immigrant to have due process? We would all agree that they do not have the same level of due process that we do. For example, we are entitled to a jury trial, and they are entitled to a hearing before an immigration judge. Do you know who the immigration judges work for? They work for the executive branch. They work for,
what?
which means that they work
I think that
for
actually
Donald Trump.
You're
which
you're
means
actually
that
making
he is
a
in
great.
charge
You're making a great
of the
point.
due process that they get.
But Donald Trump doesn't even want to give him even that
He
due
didn't
process.
say that.
I mean, I think that
He
that's
said
part of the
he
problem.
is not sure the level to which they are entitled.
She didn't ask about
to due
what
process,
level
which is
of
a
due
completely
process.
That's a very
accurate
basic,
statement.
No, I mean, the reason I'm jumping in here is because she did not ask him should they have a jury trial? Should they not have a jury trial? She just said whatever process they are entitled to. If they're immigrants and they're in an immigration proceeding, then yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a different type of proceeding. It's actually more of an administrative proceeding.
It's a much lower
but
standard as well.
still, even still, they are trying to circumvent that minimal amount of due process.
Then why does
and
it
the
take so
question
long?
is,
Let me give you
why?
an example.
The
I'll
question is
give you an
why?
example. In the example of Kilmar Obrego Garcia, I believe he already got his due process.
Yes.
He had a deportation order. So for Trump to be
Yes.
asked, does that man deserve more due process? I think the answer is Absolutely not. I don't want another dime of my taxpayer dollars to go to. He was not supposed to be sent to El Salvador.
Let's
he had a deportation.
Let's put Kilmar Abrego Garcia to the side
no,
for
but
just
I'm just using him as an example
I know that you are.
Of someone who
but I
Trump
also
could
think
very legitimately say does not need any more due process.
Well, it's not Trump's decision to decide that. I think that's the end of the story, is that it's not Trump who decides when the due process ends.
Next on deck.
Man, this whole conversation about due process, fam, I had to mull this over and try to come up with something that makes sense to try to refute some of this drama, right? So here's what I came up with, guys. Bear with me. The due process argument to me, as it relates to deportations of non-citizens, it's like a squatter's rights situation. Okay? Can someone just move into your house without your permission? No lease, no agreement, just show up. I'm sure you'll say, nah, hell no. But that's what Biden did. Let's say your demented great uncle, Joe, he let 5 strangers into your house. In your home. You come home, and there's 5 people that you did not invite that are in your house, taking up, living in your house. Can you tell them to leave, or do you have to take them to court first? Here we go. You would say, no, Tim, I should be able to throw them out. It's my house. Not so fast. Don't tenants have the right to due process? Yes, but these aren't tenants. They are squatters. I say all this not to demonize migrants, but as an owner of the house, they've been allowed to squat in. I say no. As it says, my family lives in this house, and we don't want to be forced to compete for resources with these squatters who we did not invite here. This is our house. We paid for it with blood, sweat, and citizenship. You may not like it, but it's my stance. In all fairness, get your ass out of our house. In the words of Martin Lawrence, get the stepping, Gina. Get the stepping. Now, he wouldn't throw Gina out. Bam. Yeah, okay. Next. If you like that breakdown of that story, if you like the breakdown of that, I'm just going to move on at this point. I think I made my point. Simple to the point. There it is. I've been talking enough tonight. Let's go to the next one.
With Tim Black.
Well, the Constitution, let me just read you. This is the 5th Amendment. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces. And then it goes on to say, nor shall any person be subjected for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life, limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. So the Constitution says any person, not citizen. And therein lies the debate and the root of my question. Does any person just apply to citizens in your mind, or does it apply to citizens and non-citizens? The Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, says it applies to citizens and non-citizens.
Well, let's be very clear. First and foremost, when the framers wrote our Constitution, they never envisioned that there would be an executive that would allow millions of people to come into the country illegally. They never fathomed that. Number 2, more importantly, you have a situation right now. Is it okay for any administration to not follow the law, abuse border security laws, let millions of people in, and then hide behind the court system to say, well, now they're here, so now we have to go through a lengthy process? Let's examine this right now. Right now, what we know is that when people came into the country illegally, almost 90% of them would not even go to the hearings. So if you're supposed to show up for a hearing and you do not go, what are we supposed to do as a country?
Very quickly.
Next on deck with Tim Black.
Yeah, man, I don't even want to respond to that one, man. It's similar to what I was saying before. Yeah, you should be able to throw people out of your house. That's it. Period. Point blank, you know. Now, if you go through a leasing process, I was listening to one sister, man. It was an Asian woman. She was talking about how long it took for her, and I think it was her husband, or maybe not her husband, maybe her brother, to go through the lengthy immigration process, like years of going through that process, and how they felt it was unfair that we got so many people that just jumped the line on the process. There are multiple angles to this. You know, they want to try to demonize a person like me, a black man who they think automatically should be supporting the Democratic Party because they don't know anything. And they think that's the way, you know, if you don't do that, then you don't love black people. As if the Democratic Party is for black people. Craziest thing in the world. Folks, black Americans have been stuck at the bottom for the last 55 years. And we've been voting 90 to 95% for Democrats. And your argument, and the way you try to shame me is saying I don't support the Democrats. That just don't make any sense. Those arguments will never penetrate nor cause me to change any of my stances. If you want to come with some facts, that's different. Come with some facts, but don't come with that. It's like you just shouting, jumping up and down, shouting that you don't know anything. Because, you know, we got to be able to be discerning and look at the situation and make a judgment based on reality. Folks, if being a Democrat was such a great thing for black America, we'd be doing fantastic. We would not have migrants coming to this country and 2 years later owning more property than us. Now, if you think that it's because we are fallible, we're so flawed that it's our fault, that just means you're racist. That just means that you are a self-hating black person, if that's what you think. You know? So I can't help you with that. You need to go seek therapy. I don't know. But yeah, let's move on, man. We got more tonight, man. Hit the like button, guys. We got a lot more. In fact, we got we got Tyre Nichols. We got Smokey. Yeah. What's next? I think we got one more here. Do we got one more? Yeah, let's go.
Count 7, we, the jury, find the defendant, Demetrius Haley, not guilty. Count 7, we, the jury, find the defendant, Justin Smith, not guilty. All verdict forms have been signed by the foreperson. Attorneys, you can have a seat with your clients. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have performed your duty. We appreciate the time and attention that you all have given to this case. We will now excuse you all from the courtroom.
Live from the courtroom, not guilty on all counts for all 3 former MPD officers. Tadarius Bean, Justin Smith, and Demetrius Haley all faced several counts, 7 charges in total each of them getting a not guilty verdict on each count. I'll just go back through some of this here real briefly for you for a second in case you missed a little bit of it. Tadarius Bean, not guilty. All 3 former MPD officers found not guilty of second-degree murder, found not guilty of aggravated assault and acting in concert. I want to go through this with you again. Found not 3 on count 3, which was aggravated kidnapping and bodily injury. Again, not guilty on count 4, which was aggravated kidnapping with a deadly weapon. On count 5, which was official misconduct, which was unauthorized excessive exercise of official authority, found not guilty. Another unofficial misconduct count, which was count 6, again, not guilty. And then count 7, official oppression, not guilty. So all 3 former MPD officers getting not guilty verdicts on each of the 7 counts that they faced in the state trial in the death of Tyre Nichols. Again, want to reset this whole thing for you. The verdict has just come in 20 minutes ago. We came on air to bring you that live information as they were getting ready to seat the jury. And then as we were seating the jury, we got that information and we were able to bring it to you again. Not guilty on all 7 counts for each of the 3 former MPD officers. You see them on your screen. This is in the state trial.
I can't watch any more of this, man. Folks, I've been covering the Tyre Nichols story since it occurred. Here goes
We got that information and we were able to bring it to you again. Not Demetrius Haley, all faced in the death of Tyre Nichols.
It is. This video is on a very serious topic of Tyre Nichols and police brutality. Before I get started, I want to point out how all the cable networks were carrying the beating as if it was the Super Bowl. It's very sick how they monetize black death, black pain, black destruction, black agony. I thought for a minute that CNN was going to start selling merch. I know a lot of black people who did not watch this just because they've seen the show before and they know how it ends. We have a serious problem in this country. It dates all the way back to the 20s and the 30s when black people were lynched and people showed up in droves to watch the spectacle. If after all of the media attention, all the consumption of this story, all the money that was generated, the hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars that have been generated off of this story, if there is not justice for Tyre Nichols, we deserve a zombie apocalypse. There is no ethics, there's only money.
Next on deck with...
Yeah, man, I covered that story. I recorded that when the charges were first issued. And I saw this coming. Yeah, man, I saw it coming. It's unfortunate that I was right. But the police have something that's called qualified immunity. Yeah, qualified immunity. It wasn't given to him by Trump, goofy. We got people that need to just stop watching CNBC. The qualified immunity that was granted to police officers allowed them to do this. They allowed them to kill us. And those cops can be black or Latino or white or Asians or Native Americans. It doesn't matter. They could even be trans. It could be anything. As long as they are blue. As long as they are blue, they can do what they want to do. It was 5 officers on 1 man who was unarmed. And still they found a way to make it okay to kill him. So it is what it is. There's nothing else to say. That's it. That's our justice system. If that's what you want to call it. I don't think you can really call it a justice system. I think you got to call it what you want it, what it is, which is an unjustice system that's ripe, full of corruption, that's about maintaining the status quo, and that is doing away with the people, the taxpayers, doing away with the poor people, doing away with the people without power. And you cannot tell me that if those 4 officers, well, in this case it was 3 here charged with this, those 3 officers, you cannot tell me that if they beat a white guy like that, the way they beat Tyre Nichols, they beat him for about 15 minutes. You cannot tell me they wouldn't have got something. I just can't imagine it. I can't imagine it. I know we're going on and on and on about white ladies saying the N-word at a park to a little 5-year-old kid, whatever age. I don't care what age the kid was, right? And I know we got sellouts and cornballs and knuckleheads and all these people trying to make it about black people being too sensitive. But this story right here says it all. I mean, I don't think you get any. And it's worse than that, man. When you look at it, the police chief, the Memphis Police Department chief, know all about that sting organization that did that preemptive, that did this routinely, which is beat up citizens. That's what they did. It was a sting operation, and they jumped out, and that's what they did to people. And police covered it up as usual. Bunch of damage control. And the jury brought it as usual. Because the laws that are written, when it comes to cops, qualified immunity, they have such broad leeway. They can do anything they want to do to you. They could scream. They could scream that they were scared. They could say they saw a gun. They don't. As long as they thought you were a threat, like it's all about the mind state at the time and what the cop was thinking of. They just want to get home to their families. Yeah, they just want to get home to their families. As one held him up while the others punched him. Yeah, that's. They just want to get home. It is what it is, man. I will add, this is just a state. There's also federal charges that these officers face. So there's more to it. There's more to come in this story. We'll see what happens with the federal charges. I would not get excited, though. Trump is a law and order president. So I can't expect much federally. But I will tell you, this is one particular story that I remember Trump commenting on it and saying what he saw looked horrible. This was a couple years ago when the story first broke. He did speak to it. He was asked about it during some point at some time. I do remember that. But who knows what happens now? Let me know what you think in the comments section below about the Tyre Nichols verdict. At least on a state level, there will be no justice. Says a lot about the kind of country we have. Let's keep going, guys.
Tim Black.
Rev, nobody ever said that Congress was a meritocracy. I understand that AOC may be more progressive than a lot of people. I also understand that she's one of the most articulate, exciting people in the Democratic field. She goes out with Bernie.
Articulate. I'm wondering where this comes from. One of the most worst salary persons that I know would probably be a better way to describe what she does. I don't know how progressive it is if at the end of the day, she's a bunch of blubbering idiots, like a bunch of pandering to groups and no teeth in anything. What you gonna fight for? Nothing. And she gonna do that but move to the right, just like all the Democrats do when it's time to run. She gonna end up being Stephen A. Smith with an open border. The end. But it's in a package of a Latina. So Anna Navarro could be happy.
Sanders and yeah, she just draws so many people. Very good, very effective in hearings. We've seen a lot of people. Nancy Pelosi was a progressive. When Nancy became leader, she realized she needed to represent the entire caucus. AOC certainly could do that as well. After the election, she was going around talking to people who voted for her and Donald Trump, saying, "I want to understand why did you do that? What don't I understand?" Listen, Democrats, I mean, and we're going to talk to Dave Weigel about this in a second, their approval rating is just absolutely disastrous. They don't need to keep getting people like in retirement, past retirement age, being their voice. They need somebody young like AOC. And again, it's not about ideology.
Yeah, because we'll make her do whatever we want her to do. Yeah, it's not about ideology because we're going to form her into whatever vessel we need her to be in order to be who we need her to be. So it doesn't matter what she believes or thinks. And that's my whole point about the Democratic Party. I do not see anybody that's going to really stand on business. Everybody's going to couch hold or whatever. All right, so my deal is I'm very clear. Black America don't have time for the nonsense. We need certain things done for Black Americans immediately. As in yesterday. We don't need a soft-ass person going in there afraid of not getting assignments. That was AOC. She's afraid of things like not getting assigned to be on certain committees that's going to hurt her future career. That's what she was on. So that person's not going to go in and be radical and fight for you. I believe that if a person goes into Congress and they're not prepared to be a one-term and out congressman, but go in and go out with a blaze of glory, with both guns blazing, then you ain't got a thing. You have nothing if that person's not willing to down a sword for you. Not literally, but maybe literally, but at least career-wise. And AOC is not willing to do that. And Jasmine Crocker's not willing to do that. So how could they be leaders? You know, we tarnish the term leader. Yeah, we're not doing the term leadership justice. Leader would be somebody who's willing to go down for the ship, for the cause. Take the hit. Sacrifice themselves. I don't see that in AOC or in Bernie Sanders or in Jasmine Crocker, in none of these people. You see that? Do you really see that? Is that what you see? Do you see leadership, or you see a package that you might think is the rhetoric that you think on some points we need healthcare, or we need to do something about carbon emissions? But do you see a leader? Do you see somebody willing to buck the system? Really? Because that's what a leader is. And I don't see that in AOC or in any of them. If you do, check your glasses.
She can carry the message forward for a Democratic Party that really needs to reach out to younger Americans.
They need to reach out to younger Americans, and they need to reach out in an authentic way. I think that what makes AOC effective is not only that she's younger, but that she comes off authentic without saying, I'm trying to kick the older crowd aside. Because it was very important. She did that tour with 83-year-old Bernie Sanders, while some of the younger members of Congress saying the old guard needs to retire. She's showing a balance and a maturity as a young person and a message that penetrates.
And by the way, what a great message to have. You've got all these Ivy League boys, that are in the Trump administration that went all the, no offense to Ivy League boys here or anywhere, but all these guys, billionaire Ivy Leaguers, right, attacking her, going, oh, she's an elite. And she's like, right. What do you do? I was like a bartender or a barista or whatever she was. She's like, what are you talking about? Right. I had to work my ass off to like stay one step ahead of creditors and debtors. I know you.
And she talks as one who was had to work her way.
Tim Black's BS detector.
Tim Black's BS detector.
Tim Black's BS.
She was a barista for like 6 months. She was a college kid. What are you talking about? Stop making it seem like she was a single mom living in the hood, struggling to make bills. Come on, man. This is ridiculous. Yo, man, this is garbage. Nah. She was not that. You can try to make her that. Joe Scarborough, you're somebody who's very suspect when it comes to giving any advice. You're the same guy saying Biden was the best he's ever been. You never seen Biden more sharp. He's so fantastic. All this complaining is nonsense. And now people are writing books about him being a demented old kook who should have been out to pasture 3.5 years ago. That's you, Scarborough. How the fact Scarborough still has a show is like crazy to me. He should not have a show, folks. What is he still doing talking to people? Al Sharpton goes without saying. He has lost any semblance, if he ever had it, of credibility. This whole debacle with the damn Target boycott is garbage. No one can tell me anything that's being gained for Black Americans during this whole DEI boycott. First of all, it ain't a Black boycott. It's a DEI boycott. If Black people were boycotting because Black people weren't getting jobs or promotions or placements in the retailer, that'd be different. But you want Black people to do all the heavy lifting for this garbage. Meanwhile, I want to know if you're getting any kickbacks to the National Action Network. Any of your similar friends, the same for Jamal Bryant. What are you guys looking to gain by this nonsense? And don't tell me you don't gain nothing, Roland. Don't tell me you don't gain nothing, Jamal Bryant. There's always something in it for you. Or you wouldn't be riding for it. So at the end of the day, guys, AOC, like whatever, man. It doesn't matter. AOC, Maxine Waters, Cory Booker. It doesn't matter if they ain't willing to go out with both guns blazing rhetorically and fighting for policy and dying on the heel of those policies for us. And as a Black American, I got to stand up and say, we need to know what's in it for us. Don't give me the kumbaya bullshit. We voted 95% for Democrats to my bitter frustration. I'm a bitter Democratic Party hater. But if you're going to vote for them, get something out of them. And up to this point, you're not getting anything out of them. And I don't think you get anything out of them with AOC, except more open borders for her people.
Detector.
With our local, state, tribal, and federal partners, targeted one of the largest and most dangerous drug trafficking and foreign terrorist organizations in our country. The DEA seized 11.5 kilos of fentanyl, including an astounding approximately 3 million fentanyl pills. The largest seizure in our nation's history. These are the pills in the bags right there. The main bottom right, the head of this organization, Sinaloa organization, here in the country illegally, 6 of these guys and women here in the country illegally. His name is Alberto Salazar Amaya. He is the leader, and he was living in Salem, Oregon. With him, they got millions of dollars, cash, cars, but the drugs were in Albuquerque, Phoenix, and Utah. That's how insulated these drug dealer cartel leaders make themselves.
You know what, guys? I'm trying to find out what the actual number is on fentanyl because unfortunately, this story right here, for some reason, 70,000 is a number that pops into my head. I just want to verify. Yeah, I was right. 75,000 Americans died from fentanyl overdoses in 2023. $75,000 Americans died from fentanyl overdoses in 2023. We just seized 3,000 pills. I'm sorry, 3 million pills. And I didn't hear it even covered on MSNBC or CNN. Because Trump did it. No one gives a shit. As someone who has been touched by this personally, I applaud the efforts to reel in the fentanyl supply, to go after those people that are transporting it, those distributing it. Means something to me, means a lot to me. And I'm glad they did it. And it also exposes that the Democrats really don't give a shit. It's all about political points. This entire thing is about political points. Look at who you follow. Look at what they stand on. Look at their timelines. Look at what they talk about. Did they talk about this fentanyl? The largest amount of fentanyl recovered in U.S. history? I got friends in West Virginia that talk about it. Did they talk about this story? You think it's because they don't know? Some of them? Maybe so. I've offered to go on channels and discuss important things that impact the Black community. Fentanyl overdoses impact the Black community. They're not interested in these conversations because it's a winner for Trump. Because they're not trying to win for the people. They want to win for the Democrats. It's plain and simple. And if you don't get that by now, there's nothing I can do to convince you other than keep on reaching the new people who don't know it. So those of you who don't know it, who are new, the fentanyl overdose, the fentanyl crisis, it's killing Black, white, Latino, Asian, Native American, straight, gay, trans, it don't matter, rich, poor, it doesn't matter. I'm a part of a group of people whose families have been touched by it. And it does not matter who you are. You smoke some weed, they got it in weed now. I mean, it's very few people are going out saying, ooh, I want some fentanyl. It could just be in whatever you buy. As a kicker. And the rest is history. So, folks, it just says something that there are people that hate Trump so badly and want to support the Democrats so badly that this, the largest seizure in the history of the United States in this particular drug that is devastating communities, goes unreported. Because politics. All right, hit the like button, guys. Hit the like button. It's to them, it's all about who they like. It's all about who, they don't care. But if Trump misplaces, missays, or somebody says something, or if the white lady uses the N-word, which I'm against, that gets played all day, right? I just told you 75,000 Americans died in 2023 because of this drug. And we just took 3 million potential opportunities of death. It don't even take a whole pill to kill you. Okay, first of all. We just took 3 million of them off the streets in silence. But you want me to take them serious. It's a clown car. Get it? They're clowns. But it's worse than that. They are strategic, diabolical, scheming, nasty work, sellout creeps, scumbags, philanderers, shysters and hucksters, skinflints, yellow bellies, backstabbers, cretins, flunkies, garbage people. All right, let's go on. I went after every word I could find there. You don't be descriptive. All right, let's go, man. Hey, look, guys, I don't know if anybody's seen this. I want to thank anybody that hung around this long. I know we've been going for a long time. Black Mamba, please feel free, Black Mamba, to bow out at any time. We'll deal with the comments section. I'll sweep up after and start blocking people who left horrible comments, like horrible people that aren't part of the wolf pack. So if you need to go, Black Mamba, I get it. Don't hang around longer than you have to. You know what I'm saying? Or longer than you want to. I appreciate the hell out of you. You know what I noticed, guys? I want to do this. We want to talk about Smokey Robinson. We can get to Smokey Robinson. But first, I want to do a real quick thing about Shannon Sharpe. Because I ran across this clip of Shannon Sharpe. And I don't know what Shannon Sharpe's been up to lately. I think he's been very quiet. And I want to point out something about our media people. I want to point out how they grandstand, how phony they are. And I want to use Shannon Sharpe to make this point. Now, bear in mind, Shannon ain't by herself. Let's jump into this. Shannon Sharpe, after he was exposed with this $50 million lawsuit of women, more than one woman now.
In honor of the great Paul Mooney,
Damn. That shocked me there for a second. I was going to jump in here so quick. Yeah, Shannon Sharpe, man, so let me start over. I'm sorry. All right, so we all know Shannon Sharpe. He's on the hot seat, man. He's been very quiet. And I just got to bring it up, man. Shannon Sharpe. I just want to point out Shannon Sharpe is part of a media system. At least he was. I don't know if he can still be considered a part of it. I don't know, but yo, man, I can't let it slide. Check this out. Shannon Sharpe deserves this.
in honor of the great Paul Mooney, a Paul Mooney moment.
A Paul Mooney moment.
A Paul Mooney moment. Him on the Access Hollywood talking about grabbing hoo-ha. That did not shock the very conscience of 7 NFL owners. Skipping, allow me a second to name those guys. They gave $1 million for the inauguration of President Trump.
Yeah, I just want to point out, I ran across a clip, and there's a number of clips out there with Shannon Sharpe ranting and raving about morality. Shannon Sharpe, man, folks, Shannon Sharpe has gone to long lengths. I think people don't remember, they don't recall how much stuff he was spewing. Oh, Shannon Sharpe would jump on his high horse and be doing this to everybody about their lifestyles. Shannon was horrible at this. Here he is dumping on Trump about something that happened like 15 years earlier, a recording of a hot mic about him being able to be a celebrity and having, be touching people. But you think at that time, was Shannon Sharpe engaged in the type of activities Shannon Sharpe has been engaging in? Do you think that stuff that Shannon's been doing recently was the stuff he's always been doing? I mean, you think Shannon wasn't always freaky? Do you think Shannon, this Shannon that we're discovering is a new Shannon? Or you think it was who Shannon's been? I mean, I'm just saying, using some common sense here. My point is not just that, it's the hypocrisy of this guy. Jesus Christ. I mean, guys, there's so many clips of Shannon Sharpe calling other people out for their lifestyles, for things they've done. And some of them, most of them weren't even illegal. Shannon he would just jump on his high horse and play the liberal games. Oh. And now we have an opportunity. We caught one. We caught a guy. Now I know it's Shannon Sharpe. He black, I don't care. He would climb his linebacker ass up on the high horse and point down to the rest of the world and tell everybody how disgusting they were, how they didn't have integrity, and do all these false equivalencies all the damn time. Meanwhile, in real life, he know he a scumbag. He know he don't have respect for anybody. He know he take advantage of people. He know how he get down for real. If you're watching Shannon Sharpe, I don't feel sorry for you, Unc. You were calling people out for doing shit you do and doing less than you do, while you sit around pointing fingers like you do. You did this segment here, knowing full well how you really go. Knowing full well what you're really about. You didn't have to, but you saw a lane for yourself to broaden your name, to rise up. So remember, guys, when Shannon Sharpe became Shannon Sharpe and got the Club Shay Shay, thing, and started getting his media legs and blowing up his show, how was he able to do that? By being phony and fake and going out to other people. Meanwhile, lying, pretending that he was holier than thou. Meanwhile, he was one of the worst offenders. Allegedly. So I just think we should point that out. And to me, that's a Paul Mooney moment. But you know what? The thing about it is, as he pointed out, Shannon Sharpe, what would he have to say? Would have nothing to say. But I'm reminded of a clip. Friday, the first Friday, Ice Cube, DJ Pooh. Remember Red? You remember Red? Well, he was busted lying about doing the same thing he was doing. He was accusing somebody else of doing. He gets called out for it in the movie, and he has no resort. He has nothing to say. All he could say is, well, that was different. And that's what I think about Shannon Sharpe. If you were to call him out on his nonsense, on his flagrant fouls, right? His fouls that he committed, all he could do is say, well, that was different.
Oh, that was different. Oh, that was different.
But nah, it's not different, Shannon. You did it, Shannon. As Monique said, I told you about them white women. And I don't care if it was white women or black women or who it was. What I'm talking about is the hypocrisy, dog. The hypocrisy. And how you were able to ascend in media, knowing damn well who you really are, but you just kept on using it anyway. I'd have felt different if you would always put out there that you got a lot of skeletons in your closet, and I ain't gonna talk about Trump or nobody else. I ain't gonna roast Donnell Rollins or Chad Ochocinco for their personal lives, knowing how I get there. But you never was that guy that stood on business like that. You were the opposite. You played like there was something wrong with them, and you were the good guy. Nah, you're worse. So for that, that's this week's Paul Mooney moment. I think he earned it, guys. Shannon Sharpe, he ain't a bad. I'm not gonna say he's the worst guy, but I'm saying he deserves more ridicule than he's been getting, I think. Yeah. And Nita also mentioned it is against the law to sexually assault.
In honor of the great Paul Mooney, a Paul Mooney moment.
A Paul Mooney moment.
A Paul Mooney moment. All right. Last but not least, guys, this is the home stretch, the last segment of the show. Hit the like button, let the algorithm know that you've been watching the Tim Black Show. We are doing what we do. We do this Sundays, Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and we try to give you the best of independent news. We do a raw news, the type of truth America needs. The raw truth America needs, that's what we give you. Next story is just you got to do it though, right? What is going on? Folks, I'm riding with Mrs. Black. We're going on the way to a doctor's appointment. I'm listening to the radio. She's playing a gospel station, and out of the speakers comes a story that the broadcaster was like, I don't even want to tell you, but I got to tell you. That's when I turned up the volume. This is what we heard.
Next on deck with Tim Black.
And now to the bombshell lawsuit against Smokey Robinson.
They playing music.
Assault and rape over filing a lawsuit accusations for singer Smokey Robinson facing explosive allegations. 4 former housekeepers filing a lawsuit accusing the 85-year-old Motown icon of sexual assault and rape over more than 15 years. At a news conference, 3 of the women appeared in masks and sunglasses, a 4th via video, all remaining anonymous.
These women were all low-wage earners living from paycheck to paycheck. They all feared missing a payday and not being able to pay their rent or buy food for their families.
The $50 million lawsuit claims Robinson would call the women into areas of his home with no cameras and assault them. One woman claiming she was raped more than 20 times. Another claims she was repeatedly assaulted after he summoned her to his room, saying it was for work. The suit claims Robinson's wife, Frances, knew about the alleged attacks and failed to intervene. She's also accused of verbally abusing the women, denying them breaks and overtime pay.
We believe she was aware of the misconduct and that she used their status as well as our clients' reliance on their living wage in order to keep them in check.
Smokey Robinson is set to go on tour this summer. He and his wife have not responded to this lawsuit.
No.
Not even 2 months after she started cleaning the couple's Los Angeles mansion. Another Jane Doe claims Robinson started sexually assaulting her in 2016, claiming when she was home alone with the singer at his Los Angeles mansion, he would text her and ask her to meet at places in the house that didn't have cameras. The woman alleges he would then sexually assault her.
We do have evidence
of some of the misconduct.
The complaint says the former employees didn't speak out or go to police because they were afraid of losing their livelihood, familial reprisal, and the possible adverse effect on their immigration status.
And having to tell their husband and children of these despicable acts against them left them overwhelmed with shame and embarrassment.
Robinson's wife, Frances, also named in the lawsuit, accused of creating a hostile work environment and being aware of what was alleged and not doing anything to stop it.
These 4 courageous women want and demand justice for themselves, and the filing of this lawsuit is the first step.
The complaint also accuses the Robinsons of not paying proper wages.
And we reached out to Robinson's record label about these allegations. We're still waiting to hear back.
You, by the way, you are like this generation.
Yeah, I want to comment on this before we get to this, because this is interesting here. I gotta say initially, when I heard this, right, first thing I thought was 20 times. 20 times? That sounds like a relationship. Yeah, that sounds like it sounds like an arrangement almost. Hey man, if you work for somebody and you have relations with them 20 times, I don't know if y'all go ahead and roast me in the comment section if you got it, but I'm just saying, that sounds like that's your boyfriend. Now, it's 4 women. It's going back, they say 15 years? So, it's not for everybody. Over more than 15 years, this has been going on with 4 different women. So, I think it's a reason why he chose to rock with people that work with him that are undocumented, people that are employees. So I'm not giving him a pass on it because it's already inappropriate because they work for him. So there's a power dynamic. I understand how that works. I get that. But what I'm saying is, it just went on for so long that I'm thinking it's like almost normalized within their relationship that this is the arrangement. Is all I'm saying. And I don't know if that itself is grape. You understand what I'm saying? It's improper. You can sue him. I get all that. I get that. Assault, extortion, I don't know. There are other words for it. I just have a problem with, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Because the way I picture grape is a certain way. I'm not defending him, but remember, this is alleged. Now, I did see a statement where his people said they were appalled at the accusations. And I'm sorry, guys, it just seems he's innocent until proven guilty. And these are not criminal charges. I don't know. When I hear that, it has a ring of truth to me. That's all I'm saying. It does have the ring of truth of what they're stating. I'm just saying it's for putting it in the characterization of grape. I just wonder. I think it was extortion. I don't know. Can you call it strong arm? You know how in the movie somebody's like trying to shake down the guy with the delicatessen or the small business. It'd be like the mob shaking them down like, look, you're going to pay us, whatever, if you want to stay open. You know what I'm saying? They end up paying. There's like racketeering. It's like almost like human trafficking is what I'm saying. I'm looking at it from that vantage point. So I ain't trying to clean it up and make it better. Don't take me out of context. When I just think of grape, I think differently. But definitely, he's using power over these women. If this is true, if it's true, if it's true. Let's talk about the wife. They say she knew what was going on and did not intervene on their behalf. In fact, she treated them badly. Folks, I read the documents. There's a reason why they're not going into graphically what was depicted in the documents, because it ain't for viewership. I could not play it. If you think what I played now is rough, That's nothing compared to what's in those court documents. It's very graphic and very detailed. And that's a lot of detail for people to make up, to be phony. And the lawyer says they have evidence of what took place. What hits, and I'll say this and I'll land my plane. What hits home for me as a husband and as a dad is the women that showed up, that are there, which I'm not used to seeing. You can see they're hiding their identities, but they're in person. This is being filmed. That adds more credibility to it. And also, when they say part of what held them back was not wanting to even tell their own families what happened, what they had to do for money, that they needed this job and they didn't need to get deported and they were worried of the repercussions. And they didn't want their families to know. And they didn't want their husbands to know. And it just puts us in such a category, fam, that is, you know, man, we have people with money and people with power. Why they can't just go out and get people that are willing to make the fair change? Why come you just couldn't go get an OnlyFans model who was willing to do XYZ for money? Why do you have to take advantage of people that work for you? Which makes me believe now that it has something to do with the power dynamic that he got off on. If that's what happened. Because this is alleged. And the whole thing about minimum wages and not paying people a fair wage and no lunch breaks and no overtime and all this stuff, it just gets crazy. So you mean to tell me that part of the reason why this lawsuit's been brought may just be because not only are you a degenerate, not only are you taking advantage of people, you also don't want to pay them? Because they were maids and service people for you, and you didn't want to pay them an honest pay, day's pay? I don't know about tears, but clown is a light word to use to characterize this. Man, I don't know, man. I don't know. Why do I believe it? Why do I believe it so quickly? Here goes Terrence Howard talking to Bill Maher, and just so happened, this was recent. Terrence Howard talks about being approached by Smokey Robinson.
Billy D. Williams. I told you that once at a party. I said you should play his son in a movie. I was with Kid from Kid and Play.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I'm like,
and I said, I don't know. We were high, and we were
high because this whole time I've been waiting to fucking meet you.
No, but we didn't.
And I'm like, damn, I met you, and I don't even.
And we both bum rushed you with this great idea that you should play Billy D. Williams' son, but it was at the time a great idea. And Billy D. Williams was here, and you know he's 80 and he's still fucking cool.
Yeah.
And you look like you could be his kid.
The biggest mistake I made in my career was Smokey Robinson brought me out to come have dinner with him, and he wanted me to play his life. And I just had conversations with Lee Daniels about playing Marvin Gaye, and I was like being faithful to Lee Daniels because I had given my word as a man, I'm going to do this with you. So when Smokey, I had to tell them at the table, and it broke his heart. That was the biggest mistake, and Billy D would have been one of the other people that would have. Man.
Yeah, I don't know how to tell you this, Terrence, but maybe you dodged the bullet. You don't want to be remembered as the guy that played this guy, if what they're alleging is true. Because I got a feeling Lee Daniels would have left this out, or whoever it was. Somebody would have left this out of the Smokey Robinson biography or biopic. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Lee Daniels may have hung you out to dry, couldn't get the job done or whatever with the Marvin Gaye story, but you don't want to, you dodged the bullet on this. I don't think this has been good for you. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think so, but I don't know what you think.
Yeah.
Oh, that was different.
Yeah, man, I'm looking at this man with Smokey Robinson. I'm thinking, damn, 85 years old, and some of this stuff, not 20 years ago, not 15 years ago, not 5 years ago. They say some of the allegations go back just last year. So I gotta wonder what kind of Viagra is this guy using? I'm sorry to make a joke of it, but it is. I mean, it's horrible. I don't want to make too much fun of it. But Jesus Christ, Smokey, man. You were Mrs. Smokey. You know. Jesus. Look, man, may justice prevail. May justice prevail. And I guess, I don't know where this $50 million number came from. Sounds very familiar. Yeah, this type of thing comes in threes. So we got Shannon Sharpe sold for $50 million. How much was Diddy sued for? Well, maybe go back to Diddy. Was Diddy's $50 million lawsuit? Is that what he settled for? Was it $50 million? His $50 million number keeps coming up. Diddy, Shannon, Smokey. I heard somebody talked about Byron Scott. I don't know, man. What to say, man. And y'all brothers, man, y'all. I don't know, man. Brothers is doing way too much right now. Way too much. I mean, I want to advocate for Black Americans, but I got to keep it real, man. All right, folks, let me know in the comment section what you think. I believe Hollywood has always been disgusting, and I believe the music industry is also disgusting, and I believe people with money always going to be disgusting. And I also like to point out, this type of thing with undocumented people probably happens all the time. And it don't be Smokey Robinson either. It'd be a guy that own a franchise, a Wendy's franchise, or Five Guys, or a McDonald's franchise doing the same thing just to get an opportunity to work the fry counter. You understand what I'm saying? This is what they do. This is what power does. All right, folks, let me know in the comment section what y'all think about this. Remember, this show is brought to you by the Tim Black Mug Shop. Go to timblackmug.com. Also, head on over to Soft Warm Classic. Pick up a Juneteenth shirt. Be early. Be early. Get your Juneteenth gear. Celebrate Juneteenth, emancipation. All right, go to softwarmclassic.com. Yeah, that's all I got. Let's go to comment section. See if anybody hung around. I know it's late, but I think we had a good show tonight. This is what happens when I have a day off. I come back with a 3-hour show. What we got? We got the amazing Black Mama with support going to the Tim Black Mug Shop. Do that, Johnson. We got Jesse with a super sticker. We got Trust No Party coming through as he always does. Great show. Thank you. We got Ira the Great. Dante Mills looked like a black Blackonian from SNL back in the 80s. Dante Mills. I don't know. I remember the Coneheads. I do remember the Coneheads. Nanu. Thank you. All right, folks, that's all I got. Is that it? We good? Gary Goof says, thank you, Tim. Well, thank you, Gary, for supporting the Tim Black Show. Pervert. Peaches says pervert. Peaches De Leon says pervert. Yeah, man, you know what, Peaches, though? You know what, yo? I want to say alleged, but why does it feel like, You know, and I know that's not right. You know, I know it's guilty, right? I'm not guilty, innocent before guilt, right? I understand that. Why do I feel like it's like, I don't know. And I know people are going to say, Tim Black, they try to get all the brothers money when they get older. I understand that. And I'm not going to say that $50 million mark is like, huh? Why does everybody want $50 million? What happened to 10,000? You know, what happened to, You know, like, you know what I'm saying? What happened to $400 in a trip to Disney World? Like, I'm just saying, why does everybody think their cookies are worth $50 million? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm just saying, I know I'm a catch heat. I know. Black people, I'm talking to you right now. I'm not talking to purple-headed progressives who live with their parents, who never paid bills before. I'm just saying, fam, real talk. Why do people choose 50 million? You know, some of y'all been in the back of a Chevy and you paid for the Trojans. You know what I'm saying? With a $2 double deuce of Grey Goose. No, a double deuce of St. Ives. Or some Cisco, $5. Some Midnight Rose or Night Train, or some nasty brat gut, a pint of Henny, thinking you balling, and did the same thing. And now it's 50 million? 50 million? It's just the numbers be so big, it just sounds like it's driven by lawyers, by unscrupulous ambulance-chasing scumbag lawyers, because the numbers be so humongous. Like, if you came to somebody and say, hey, I can get you $10 million, like, most people be like, okay, well, this person did, like, if they did it or not, be like, well, let's try shit. I mean, we're talking about such huge amounts of money. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just wondering, like, these numbers make things sound disbelievable. You know what I mean? And like anybody will be compromised over the possibility of getting anywhere near that amount of money. That's all. And I know people like, Tim, you can't say, I gotta say what I think. I can't pretend not to think these things. What good am I if I'm lying? I might as well be Rachel Maddow. You know what I'm saying? I might as well be Cory Booker. I might as well be Tim Scott. If I'm not going to tell you what I really think is that, you know, it's too much of a come up to be turned away. Like, I mean, they're still married, right? The ladies, one of the ladies, maybe one, maybe all, said part of the reason why they didn't come forward because they didn't want their family to know. Well, now that it's for $50 million, we came forward. That's all I'm saying. Get me? Like, bump that. He'll get over it. Go back and buy half of Mexico with $50 million. I'm just saying. I'm wrong, right? They're suing a trust fund. They want his legacy. Not happening. How do you get, that's what I said. How do you get this? Like I said, that sounds like a relationship. I mean, I think the terminology here is not accurate. I think unscrupulous, domineering, like trafficking or something along those lines, right? Extorting, something, strong arming, you know what I'm saying? Using this, hanging this over someone's head, something like, I see these things. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be compensated for. I just think the term grape is kind of, I don't know. But I don't know. But when they say they got evidence, let's see what the evidence is. Could it be some bruises? You know what I'm saying? Could it be, you don't know what it is. Could be medical records, could be bruising, could be these things. You never know. They may have recorded it. I don't know. So we don't know what that means. But the lawyer for the plaintiff said they had evidence. All right, fam. Whoa. Watch YouTube video. Smokey Robinson. Woo-wee, Smokey. Old Hollywood scandals. There's a lot of dirt on Smokey Robinson. Yeah. We'll see, fam. All right, guys, I got number love for you. I'm Tim Black. I'll see you tomorrow. Shout out to the Tim Black Wolfpack for being here as always. Thank y'all for supporting this. Thank you for being a member. Don't forget, go to softwarmclassic.com. Check out the website. Pick up something. And don't forget to go to timblackmug.com. I'll see you tomorrow. Remember, don't let anybody take your cornbread, man. What y'all doing taking people cornbread? Giving people your cornbread. Keep your cornbread. Stop playing with these people. All right. And as always, where are my ladies? Where are my ladies? Oh, there they go.